Okay, guest number 2 on this podcast is Brian Schoby from East St. Louis High School, one of the outstanding athletic directors there. But first, I want to talk about Play It Again sports. You and your kids may never outgrow your favorite sports, but you may outgrow your equipment. Your locally owned Play It Again Sports provides an easy way to sell your quality used sports and fitness gear and get paid on the spot or trade up for what you need right now. Not only will you save with affordable used gear, but they also supply the latest new equipment and accessories from the most popular brands. I talked to Edwardsville store owner Dan Brynjolfsson today, and he said it's baseball. Everybody's gearing up for baseball and softball and golf, the spring and summer sports. They've got tons of inventory, and they'll buy what you've got sitting around in your garage. So go by and see Dan today and tell him that I sent you. And speaking of golf, located northeast of Edwardsville, Oak Brook Golf Club is a family-owned 27-hole public golf facility, and their goal is to offer the highest quality golf experience for a reasonable fee. Oak Brook is consistently recognized for awards such as Friendliest Staff, Best Course to Host a Fundraiser, and Best Senior Scramble in the bi-state area. From fundraisers to leagues to instruction to an afternoon out on the links by yourself or with your friends, the Brook wants to win your business. I've personally played and hosted multiple golf scrambles there, and I promise you, Mike Surrey and his staff are the best. To book your next tee time or to start organizing your next fundraising scramble, give them a call at 656-5600 or check them out online at oakbrookgc.com. Welcome to the show, Brian Schoby. Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you too, Coach.
We go way back.
Yeah, a little bit. What, 2008, 2009?
Is that when you started at Edwardsville?
I think so. Yeah, that was the school year.
Okay. But you've been in East St. Louis.
I've been in East St. Louis since the 2012-13 school year. No, sorry, 13-14.
Okay. So a little over 10 years or so,
I think
10,
this
12.
is my 11th year.
10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 11th years. And originally when you went to Eastside, in what capacity did you go there?
I went there as a driver's ed teacher, and then I was coaching girls track.
Okay. You never coached football there?
Did not coach football there, no. When I left Edwardsville, I went to Springfield Lanphier for a year. It was just kind of a gap year. We had some personal things going on. The wife had gotten ripped from the school district. She couldn't find a job in the area. She's from Auburn, Illinois, so we moved back up there. I worked at Lanphier for that 1 year. When I came back down here, I did not do any coaching beside the girls' track job. So I haven't coached football since 2012-13. When I was at Lanphier, we went 0-9, 7 running clocks, left a bad taste in my mouth.
Okay. And your position, your official position at East St. Louis High School is?
My official position is East St. Louis High School Athletic Director, but my job responsibilities are more of an assistant role. Coach Sunkett is the district athletic director, so he takes the lead when it comes to a lot of the major things that we do in the athletic department, and I do the assistant's role to come to scheduling, officials, things like that.
Okay, I get it. Do you teach any classes still?
Do not teach any classes. They did me a favor and took me out of the classroom this year. I love it.
Full-time associate AD?
Full-time.
Okay,
Full-time.
Very good. So Mr. Sunkett is the school district athletic director, and you are the high school athletic director.
Correct.
Okay. What's the toughest part of your job?
Oh, the time. The time is the toughest part because, athletics never stops. You're a coach. You know that our job really doesn't start until after school. You've got a couple hours of practice. You might have a game. We do a lot of travel in East St. Louis. So a typical day for me, I'll wake up at 5:15. I'm off to work at 6:15, 6:30. Our school day starts at 7:30. We get done at 2:30. I'll stay afterwards, do a little bit of work in the office, and then if I have a middle school responsibility, in addition to my high school work, I'm responsible for 3 middle schools and 5 elementary schools. So I got
There's
a lot
3
on my
middle
plate.
schools in Eastside.
3, yes. Clark, Lincoln, and Wyvetter Young. We brought Young back 3 years ago as an academy, basically for the gifted kids in the district. It's more of a select enrollment type deal.
Like a magnet school, maybe.
Like a magnet school, but not necessarily a magnet school. We're not pulling from all areas. It's still district. So those kids go there. We started that 3 years ago. So, yeah, I have that on my plate as well. So I might stop by a middle school game that starts at 4:30, and then from there I'll head to a high school game at 6:30. I'll get home at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and wake up and do it all again the next day.
Do you have kids?
3 kids. The oldest is a sophomore at Mascoutah. My daughter, the middle child, is 8th grade at Mascoutah Middle School, and the youngest is 5th grade at Wingate. So, yeah.
Man, you're busy.
I am.
You're super busy. What middle school sports are offered in East St. Louis?
In the fall, we do baseball and softball, which are both new programs. This coming fall will be our 4th year with those. We also have boys and girls cross country. We do wrestling. We have football, but we don't play in a middle school league. We play a JFL league over in St. Louis. We have basketball at all 3 campuses, volleyball, and then in the spring we have track and field.
I feel like that's a lot of sports.
It is for a middle school program, and they want me to add some more.
Wow. How's that going?
It's going pretty well, actually. I've been an AD now for 8 years. You know about our success at the high school, but what a lot of people don't know is that we've had a lot of success at the middle school as well. In those 8 years that I've been an AD, between the 3 campuses, actually we'll only say 2 because Young hasn't brought any trophies from state back yet, but I've gotten 19 state trophies and 7 state championships in 8 years at the middle school. So we're doing some good things down there too.
Let's talk about this year because a lot of success. Another high school state championship for the Flyers in football. Congratulations to Coach Sunkett. Another dominant 6A performance for the Flyers on the football field. Just had your first wrestling state champion, I believe.
Actually, he's the second in the school history. First one in 80 years, though, so not a lot of
80
people know about
years.
it. Yeah, it's been 80 years.
Good for him. And what's his name?
Pierre Walton.
Okay. I want to have him on the show very, very soon.
Outstanding kid. Very well read. He's a smart kid, one of the top kids in the class. You'd be a really good interview.
I can't wait to have him.
Yeah, be a good kid.
But that's not the only success that you've had in Eastside this year. Lots of good things going on. Tell me some of the other highlights of the year so far for the Flyers.
Recently, at the end of last school year, our boys track program repeated. It's 2A state champs. So most of those kids are back. And quite honestly, we had some kids just got back from Nike Indoor Nationals. We took a group out there. Unfortunately, the 4x4 team, which was the best group that we took out there, they had the best time. Unfortunately, they got DQ'd in their race, but we did have a triple jumper, Shamanda McLean, who was the 2A state champ last year. He finished 12th in his age group at Indoor Nationals. Yeah, in the championship flight. So there's 3 flights at Indoor Nationals. They do a championship flight, they do an emerging elite, and then they do a high school. So the championship would be the best of the best, and he finished 12th. So we're really, really proud of him.
What year is he?
He's a senior this year.
Okay, so he's looking at continuing on a Division I level.
We would think that at some point the scholarship offers are going to come for him. Track's a different animal when it comes to scholarships. A lot of those kids usually don't get their offers until after the state meet their senior year.
Wow.
That's
late.
It is late. A lot of those, and you have to be a really, really special athlete in track to get a scholarship when you're here.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think Malik Allen didn't commit until.
Yeah, he didn't commit until after state. Illinois came knocking after he repeated after he won state. But track's just a different beast because, especially in the north, we've got the Feed the Cats here, and the guys do a really good job with the sprinters in the state, and we're making a name for ourselves nationally. But it's still tough to compete with the times in Texas and Florida and in California and places like that. Those kids get the scholarships first. And then, the kids up north, the faster ones, they get what's left. And unfortunately, for a lot of those kids, that doesn't happen until after their senior year. But, a lot of those kids are fortunate in the fact that they do get those opportunities. And now with the changes with the NCAA and how they award scholarships and all that, there's no limits on what they can do with track programs and their scholarship offers. So we might be able to see some kids get some offers earlier now that things have changed.
I think so. And I think when a lot of people think of East St. Louis right now, they think about travel. They look at the travel schedule of your football team, and I think they think that it's exciting.
It is.
But it's work. and it's expensive.
It's a lot of work and it's expensive. And I will say a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions when it comes to East St. Louis and our travel. A lot of people wonder, how does the school district afford to send those guys to all those places, a couple of times a year? But I will come out and I will say that the school district is not spending the amount of money that people would think for us to travel. A lot of these showcase games that we go to, they're contracted, and we get assistance. We get financial assistance to go. We're making 3 trips this coming school year. We're going to Ocean City, New Jersey, week 1 to play Bergen Catholic. That contract is covering probably 50% of our travel. We have a contract to go to Las Vegas week 3 to play Bishop Gorman. That contract is going to cover probably 80% of our travel. And then when we go to Florida week 9 to play IMG, that contract is going to cover our entire travel. So, the school district is not on the hook for that. So the travel is definitely exciting. That's why we get a lot of kids that want to transfer to East St. Louis. We expose kids to things. We take them out on the summer. We don't just travel with the football team during the school year, during the season. The summer camps that we go to exposes those kids. That's how we have kids that get these big offers. We take them to Alabama. We take them to LSU. We take them to Ole Miss and Tennessee. And that's why we have players there. We have to expose them.
So that's the main motivation, is you want these kids to be seen by the good coaches and the best programs. I guess in my mind, I was thinking you went to play these schools because that was the best competition that was available. So there's that. You're going to play these schools because they're good. But another reason is because you want them to be seen.
Oh, don't get me wrong. We will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. We are not afraid of competition.
But you don't want to play teams that aren't good.
No.
You want to play the best competition. I mean, you're seeking out good programs.
There's a reason why our kids are ready to play when they walk on SEC campuses day 1. It's because we are preparing them at the high school level to play in college as soon as they step on campus. We play a challenging program, a challenging schedule. Just for that. We want our kids to get better. We want that competition, but we also want the exposure. Our kids live in East St. Louis. It's not the best environment. We want them to be able to see that if you work hard and if you are disciplined and if you do the things that you're supposed to do, the doors can open up for you. You're not stuck in that 89 blocks that everyone says that we're confined to. There's a world out here. It's a huge world out here, and it's open for everybody. If you work hard, you can achieve anything that you want. And that's what we're trying to tell these kids. We're trying to show these kids by traveling. We don't just travel with the football team. The basketball team gets around too. The track team, like I said, some of them are just out at New York at the Indoor Nationals. They're going to, they were supposed to go to Morehouse College Relays in Atlanta in a couple of weeks, but we found out that it was more of a club meet, so we didn't want to run afoul of IHSA regulation, right. So we're not going to go to that. But we also go to Kansas Relays. We've been to they've been to Louisville twice for indoor meets. The girls go to Chicago consistently for track meets. So it's not just the football team; it's all of them.
And how do the kids respond to this?
They love it.
Kids are getting on a plane and they're heading to Vegas. Kids are getting on a plane and they're heading to Florida. They're heading to IMG. How many of these kids are saying, this is the first time I've been on a plane?
A lot.
And it's eye-opening, and they're excited, and they're proud, and they feel good about themselves. It's like a self-esteem thing.
It's really neat to see that. Some of those kids, the first time that they've been on an airplane, you're right, the eyes are open, and they're scared to death to get on that thing, the white knuckle ride. But it's also good when we get them to these different places, and, we play well, and we win, and they see the crowd cheering for them, and it's not just staying in hotels. We do some cultural things with them, take them on field trips. When we went to Canton, Ohio a couple of years ago, we did the Hall of Fame tour. That was great for the guys to be able to see stuff like that. So, it's really neat. The kids love it. That's why we get some transfers in, because they see Mr. Culver, our superintendent, has always been a proponent of making sure that you give kids a reason to want to come to school and you give them a reason to want to stay in school. The things that we do in our athletic department, I believe, fulfills both of those. We give them a reason to want to come to school, and then with the things that we do with them in our athletic program, it gives them a reason to want to stay.
And you're seeing results. You're seeing the results on the field, but are you seeing the results in the classroom also? And the kids are sticking around.
Absolutely.
Is it working?
Absolutely. I'm the guy that runs eligibility on a weekly basis, so I can speak to it personally, firsthand. That since I took over that job, the eligibility issues that we would have at East St. Louis are gone. We don't have those anymore. Every once in a while, we'll have a kid, just like any other school. There's a kid or two that pop up on the eligibility list every year. There's always going to be some. But
Always.
for the most part, we've cleaned all that up. The football team especially, the football team has not had a player miss miss a game because of an eligibility in 3 years. So we're doing the right thing.
And you're seeing the kids move on to, like you said, SEC schools, and they're equipped athletically and academically.
Absolutely.
That's been your experience.
Absolutely. Just this last semester, DeAndre Bradford, maybe you remember him, Smiley Bradford, number 1 safety, went to Purdue. He has been Purdue's academic athlete of the week 3 times in his freshman year. Jesse Watson has won that award at Purdue. Javante Spraggins was on the dean's list at Tennessee. Antonio Johnson with the Jaguars was on the dean's list at Texas A&M. Kids are doing well. Dominic Lovett, dean's list at Mizzou and Georgia. So we're doing the right thing. The kids are ready.
You feel like you're making a difference in East St. Louis?
That was the plan when I got there.
You feel good about it right now?
Absolutely. I love the direction that we're taking. When I got to East St. Louis, I had no thoughts of being an athletic director. None. I wanted to be a driver's ed teacher, coach, a little bit, go home, do the family thing, and that was it. Our athletic director at the time was Tony Young. I don't know if you remember him. He was the basketball coach. We were having some issues internally. Tony was relieved of his duties, and it was at that time that I had an inkling, you know what, maybe I want to be an athletic director, try to do a little something different. Really, it was more of a thought because I wanted to get out of the classroom. Got tired of teaching all day long. I was a PE teacher to start my career, and then when I moved into the classroom with the driver's ed job, I'll be honest, I felt kind of like a caged animal. I wanted to get out, So I thought the athletic director, I'd still be in the school, still involved with everything out of the classroom. I thought that would be a good job for me, a good role to take on. I approached our assistant superintendent at the time. He told me to take the appropriate steps to do what I need to do. I believe I was enrolled in a program a month and a half later. But my goal was always to try to affect change at whatever school I was at. It didn't necessarily have to be East St. Louis, but that just happens to be the first place that I started. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to put anything out there like I'm looking for a change or anything like that. I'm not. I'm totally happy with where I am. But I've always wanted to affect change, especially in my community. I grew up in East St. Louis, 5 minutes away from the school. My mom worked in School District 189 for 37 years. My dad started at East Side in 1972, 2 years before I was born. He worked there all the way up into his retirement in 2008. I've been in East St. Louis. I've been in East Side my entire life. I was in that building before I could walk. My aunt and uncle all worked in School District 189. My uncle was a French teacher at Lincoln. I'm tied into District 189. District 189 has been my life. So I know I'm in the right place, and I've always wanted to be a positive change for East St. Louis. I hear the stories. I've lived it. I know what people say about our community.
What do they say?
They cheat, they lie, they steal. You don't want to go down there. It's dangerous. There's nothing but drugs down there. They don't do anything down there. They're lazy. They're not smart. Nothing's ever ready. I could go on and on and on about the negative things that I've heard about our community. And most of them are wrong. A lot of the people that are saying the negative things about East St. Louis haven't spent any time in our community. None. So to hear those types of things, it hurts. I grew up there. I've seen the good things in East St. Louis. I've seen the bad things in East St. Louis. But it's no different than anywhere else. It's no different than anywhere else. So when I got into the job, I knew that my experience growing up there, knowing how the district works, and knowing the people and the things that I can bring to the table, I'm really happy with the things that we've done. Extremely happy.
And it's different for you because you grew up there.
I grew up there.
So for somebody else to be there, it's different.
Definitely.
How is it different for you?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. You know, growing up in East St. Louis was really hard. You know, 1974, I was born. That was right when the gangs were starting to take over. Crack was taking over the community. I saw a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have seen when I was a kid. My parents did a really, really good job of protecting me from the streets. They made it known that education was always a priority. My mom was a teacher. Her older sister was a teacher. Her mother was a teacher. She has 2 other sisters that were teachers, special education down in Mississippi. As you can see, teaching's the family business. You know, it's what we like to call it. I tried like hell to stay away from it growing up. You know, I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted no parts of it. But, you know, living in Chicago, working a professional job, putting on the monkey suit every day, you know, getting on the train, going downtown, just wasn't for me. I had a long conversation with my aunt, who was an English teacher at Clark Middle School. Then she eventually worked her way up to assistant principal, and then she was the district English coordinator. And she said, you know, you've got the personality, the skills, the demeanor that I think would make a good teacher. You might want to look into it. So I did, you know, reluctantly, of course, but I did. And one of the first assignments that we had in my teacher preparation program was to watch the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've seen it.
With,
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss, great movie. And it talked about, you know, teachers don't choose that job. You know, you're called to it. And, you know, when I had my experience, you know, kind of get my feet wet, I'd go sub, you know, and stick my feet in the water and see how it was. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And, you know, I went back to school. I started school 2 weeks before 9/11 is when I started my program, came out the year later. And I always wanted to, I had an idea that I was going to come back home and try to affect some change. You know, it's a lot different being in the seat as opposed to watching other people in the seat. You know, you see how you want to do it. You see how they did it. I'll admit that, you know, coming up in East St. Louis, I saw a lot of different people doing a lot of different things. You know, I saw a lot of good athletic directors. I saw a lot of bad ones. Some of the good ones, you know, Leonard Manley was a really good athletic director. Ted Daniels, learned a lot from him. Art May was a good athletic director. You know, there's some really good people to learn from. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that when I got into a position where I could affect some change, that I would do it in a positive way. You know, I see a lot of people that want to come in and try to affect some change in East St. Louis, but they're not doing it the right way. You know, we're a different community down there. We're really tight-knit. We protect our own. We're very, very, very protective of East St. Louis, very protective. And, you know, if you don't live there, if you don't know the community, you wouldn't know that. But they're very protective of what happens down there. So I want to make sure that I'm doing right, not just by the people in the school, but by the people in the community. You know, I want to make sure that at the end of the day, or when I'm done, when I retire, when I'm gone, people say, well, you know, that Schoby guy did a pretty good job here. You know, he left us something good, something that we can work with.
Is this the last job for you? East Side?
I'll say yes. But, you know, I never close the door on opportunity. You never know what might happen. You never know what doors might open down the road. I've interviewed for a couple of other, you know, AD jobs, more for experience than anything else, not really trying to find a way out. Like I said, I'm happy with where I am, but, you know, you don't learn about other programs and things like that, and you know, go out and do some things that are kind of unexpected. And, you know, I went out and interviewed at a couple of other places, of big school districts in Chicago, just to kind of get an idea. You know, how are they interviewing people? What are they looking for? How do they run their programs? It's more of a digging mission for me than actually trying to find a job at another place, because I like to learn and I like to bring those things back to where we're working, and, you know, take some of those things and, you know, make it work for me down here. So is this a last job? Probably.
I like the way you answered that. Brian, it's been really amazing catching up with you. I'm really inspired by a lot of things you said, man. So keep up the good work and stay in touch.
I will, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Come back again.
Yeah, no problem.